Years ago, an oil painting by the master Caravaggio was destroyed when Berlin was bombed during World War II. Since then, the only record of that painting was a picture, a black and white photo with a description of what the painting looked like. Today, a La Jolla artist is bringing to life St. Matthew and the Angel. We share her story in depth. Nearly 400 years ago, Caravaggio depicted Matthew writing his gospel. The painting was for a church in Rome, but it ended up in a Berlin museum in 1945. The museum was bombed, burned to the ground. St. Matthew and the Angel lost forever.
All we have is a black and white photograph from an old glass negative and color descriptions that came out of East Germany from archives in the basement of the museum from 1909.
Noel Barron is recreating the masterpiece. She'll offer her painting to the church at San Luigi Francesi in Rome, where it was first presented. The black and white photo is her blueprint. Written descriptions from East Germany provide the color.
I've had several translations, which also helps, because everyone translates a little bit differently, but it was pretty descriptive. It didn't just say olive green, it would say dark olive green, and I've done so many of Caravaggio's works that I kind of feel I really know his paintings now. Early color, black and white, when they photographed color pictures, the red showed up very light in a black and white photograph. So to me, I was guessing first that it may have even been a golden color. But in reality, it's a darker red because red, the color red, didn't pick up on black and white film.
Noel is a master of the masters. She reproduced a painting stolen from Palermo, Sicily, Caravaggio's Nativity, that was once sliced from its frame, now hangs in the oratory of San Lorenzo. A letter of gratitude from the Italians is just part of her reward.
These are not just art objects. You know, these are living things that speak to us, you know, of the rich cultural heritage of a nation and the history of mankind, and it's very sad when we lose them, and it's my little way of bringing back a little piece of history that's lost.
An artist works in a two-dimensional world, but for Noel, there's an added dimension to the type of work she does, from the divinely inspired Apostle Matthew to the destructive presence of heavyweight boxer Mike Tyson, and people in between. For Noel, St. Matthew and the Angel will be a 2-year project. Caravaggio painted 2 versions of the scene, but when he presented the first one as an altarpiece, it was rejected. The priests were shocked, saying Matthew didn't look dignified, that his legs were crossed and his feet exposed, not to mention the bare midriff of the angel. So he painted another one, less dramatic, not as personal, but acceptable. The second version hangs in the church in Rome. Most likely, this recreation of the first painting, destroyed in the war, will one day be there too. The study of this is oh so detailed. For example, paint powder mixed in Naples 400 years ago was different than paint powder mixed in Rome, where Caravaggio worked. A red in Naples just isn't the same as a red in Rome, and Noel knows the difference. Only a master could tell.
She does some incredible work. Does she get paid?
Some of her paintings are for sale, and they are very expensive, but in this case, she donates. She has donated the painting to Sicily, and this one will be donated also.
Boy, it's nice work.
You know, San Diego has more than its share of fine artists, but Noel Barron is different from most. You see, she paints the masters, but her paintings aren't for sale.
They are some of the classic paintings of all time, but they're not the originals. These are reproductions. And no, they're not hanging in some fancy gallery in San Diego, but rather in a house in La Jolla. Noel Barron has spent the better part of the last 20 years of her life reproducing the works of the great masters, and in that time she's recreated dozens of masterpieces.
Why reproductions? Why not do something original?
I have a tremendous respect for things that are traditional. I just like the sensitivity and the drama of the religious works, and I think that's why I'm drawn to that period of Renaissance and Baroque painting more than the other, you know, types of periods.
Although most of her work is not for sale, Noel has donated pieces to museums or galleries where the originals have been lost or stolen. This painting, Caravaggio's Nativity, is now hanging in the oratory of San Lorenzo in Palermo, Sicily. The original was stolen in 1969 and never recovered. And if there is a painter that Noel admires most, it's Caravaggio.
He's just tremendous for his realism and his dramatic lighting, his chiaroscuro, which he brought into the art world, which a lot of artists adapted, Rembrandt, Velázquez, and so on, and wanted this drama in their painting, and that's probably the reason why I like him the most, because he's so dramatic. I'm into it. I get hyper. I become in another world. I get in there and I'll paint sometimes 12 hours straight. I just lock all the doors and just paint and don't want anybody to bother me. I think I would be very lost without it. It really fills something in my heart, in my spirit or whatever, and it makes me just love life, that I'm able to get out there and complete that and do those paintings. It's exciting to me.
To be called a copycat as a child was cause for a fight, but to a La Jolla artist, the words come as a compliment. This artist copies the lost art of the world's greatest painters. Margaret Radford has the story.
It's no museum, it's Noel Barron's home. On the walls, some of the world's finest art.
I started with the painting because I've always loved to have beautiful things around me, and I probably have, if they were the real thing, you know, several $100 million worth of art, you know, in my home.
Noel Barron recreates destroyed or stolen masterpieces. Without her, they would be lost to the world. Her favorite style, realism from the Baroque and Renaissance periods. Her favorite artist, Caravaggio. This is her reproduction of a 1602 Caravaggio that hung for a brief period in a church in Rome. But Caravaggio's scantily clothed angel and St. Matthew's exposed limbs were considered scandalous. So a replacement was commissioned.
This particular painting went from one private collection and ended up finally in Germany, where it was put into the Kaiser Friedrich Museum in Berlin, and during the war, the museum was bombed and the painting just was burned up and destroyed. And I have recreated this from a black and white photograph and color descriptions written in 1909, which were sent to me from East Germany.
Noel hopes the Catholic Church in Rome will accept the painting as a gift. It took her a year to paint, and she wants to give it away.
You wouldn't take Gettysburg and it wouldn't be in China. You know, it's where it's supposed to be. And to me, to bring back and preserve that history and put it in its proper place, that is kind of a goal of mine. And, you know, I realize this isn't the real Caravaggio, but that's really, to me, very unimportant because it's an echo of what he did, and if I can somehow bring that back to the public, that's tremendous satisfaction for me as an artist.
This is the work of an untrained artist whose expertise comes from 20 years of doing it. A woman who loves art and wants to share it with the rest of us. Margaret Radford, 10 News, La Jolla.
Beautiful work.
It is. That is our news for now. ABC World News Tonight with Peter Jennings is coming up next. We'll see you back here at 6:30 on 10 News Evening Edition.